Hey guys, I wanted to show you what it takes to make mouth guards. So come with me on this little journey. First you're going to get some stone, and you need enough to fill up the ones you're going to fill up. So you start by kind of mixing this up. So you use the little shaky table. So let's get the shaky table going. There you go. You want kind of a soft serve consistency. If it's a little too runny, you can always add just a little more stone. Good, that's nice. Now what you'll see is we've got a couple of impressions we're going to pour up. There's a nice impression. Looks good. You're looking for the bubbles to pop. That's obviously the key. Pour up as many as 3 to 5 at a time. Here I'm just demonstrating 2, just to kind of show that like they don't have to be done one at a time. Great. When you're building up above where you've poured up, that part, it doesn't matter as much if it has a little bit of bubbles in it, as long as it's not in the teeth area. The teeth is the critical area not to get bubbles in it. So what you do is, once you're done pouring it up, you don't want to leave stone on your instruments. So you always have to kind of clean the instruments off real quick before you move on to the next step. So that's what we'll do next. We'll do a little cleanup. So the first key is, just get the excess off, no problemo. Rinse. Once you got all the stone off, then you can move on to the next step. Now, this is a poured up model right here, so you've got one that's already complete. I like to wet the model before I trim it. I think it's the best way to do it. Get your model trimmer going. I'm looking to clean off these edges a little bit. You'd like a nice flat bottom. It's pretty good. I try to make them flat. See these like little spines. Try to get rid of those. Good. Once it's all trimmed up, I like to rinse it just a little bit, get any loose stone off of it. And then you're ready for the next step. The next step, you can put a little blue layer, and the blue layer, you heat it up. Beep. Right? It heats for 90 seconds, and then that's going to do a drop down onto your trimmed model. Okay? When you're looking at a trimmed model, you don't want to clean off the frenum. Leave that part. Okay? And then sometimes you'll have like a couple little spines of stone on there. And you can just kind of wisp those off a little bit. So if you have a couple little wisps of stone, just get rid of those. It doesn't have to be totally perfect because what we're making today is an athletic mouthguard. So whenever you're making an athletic mouthguard, it's not as critical as maybe say a removable unit, like perhaps like a retainer or something like that. So just get the big chunks off, make it look nice. Once you've got that ready, this one is the mini, and I can put details about that. And you always face the teeth to the right, okay? And this countdown goes all the way from 90 all the way down. You do the first blue layer. After the blue layer is on, then you have to trim off with a heat knife. And I'm going to demonstrate that in a second. The blue layer will be trimmed all around. And then we like to put a patient's name on it. These aren't patients. These are actually just students, not patients. I actually, in my informed consent, it specifies that these are, in fact, students, not patients. They would have to establish themselves as a patient. So what you do is you put the student's name on it, and then you do the clear layer is the second layer that gets put down over the top of it. Come take a look at what that looks like over here with the blue. The blue is going to be drooping a little bit. Once it's drooping like that, very gently, you don't have to throw it too fast. Let that kind of come down, and then close this up. Now that's going to put pressure on it for 2 minutes. Now let's go trim. Let's trim one. Okay. Go ahead.
There we
Good.
go.
Now you got a nice trimmed up model. So you've trimmed off the stuff around the outside. Now come take a look. What you do next is, if the case calls for it, some cases you'll see, we allow the student to choose if they want an attachment. Now this is the real secret, okay? The secret is, how do you get the attachment on there and have it stay on and actually really attach deeply? This is a little trick that I've come up with. You take that rubber gasket that you saw her just trimming off and you cut it into pieces that look like this. These pieces can then go back on here. It gets very hot. You can use a heat gun. A heat gun kind of looks a little bit like a blow dryer. And you're going to heat up the model, or the plastic a little bit. And once that's blue, it's a little bit warmer. The heat gun can put heat on the attachment we're going to put on. So now we're going to very thoughtfully hold that. You don't want to get your hand too close, it's very hot. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of letting the heat gun start to work on that rubber a little bit. I don't want it to fall too soon. Thing you can do here is you take I use a screw and I just put the screw right in here. Alright. And that is going to create a window. I'm going to make sure I meld these together. You'll see when this layer goes from looking like clear to looking blue, that's when you know it's kind of melted into it a bit. So that's actually one of the kind of more delicate parts of the process. Now this is real hot, so when you do this, you can wear gloves for this part if you want. It's no trouble. That'll kind of keep your fingers out of harm's way, but if you use a really thoughtful touch, you can kind of get in there and just kind of mash the melted gel rubberized material together. What you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure it gets a good meld, melding these areas together. Once you've done that, after that cools, you can unscrew. This screw will actually be in there and you can just unscrew it. Now you've got a product that looks kind of like this. This is cooled off and you can see the little channel inside of it. Inside, you'll notice that it's still kind of where we've cut it off with the knife. It's a little rough and I've just started to do a little of the trimming on this. And so this is what that looks like. So you're going to take a wheel. I like this little green wheel. And then I can go around these edges and just polish off the sides. And that'll give it a nice finish. Very rarely will anyone tell you you trimmed too much off. So whenever you're trimming these, just think about it. If it was in your mouth, would you want it to be thicker and bigger? Or would you want that corner to be nice and smooth back there? Would you like to leave a little extra on, or would you like to trim a little more off? And the answer is most of the time, people will prefer it if you just trim a little bit more off. So don't be afraid to trim some off. The only thing that ever would get you in trouble is if you trim off so much that it won't stay in. But that would be pretty rare. That would be pretty unusual. So after we've trimmed this and everything feels really smooth, then the last step is to put the Tygon line through. So now the last step is to get the little Tygon line. I'll show you what that looks like. This is like, you measure this, the perfect length is 19 inches. You can do probably 18 to 19 inches for this. And then where I've created that channel, after the screw's out, now I have a place to put this line. You do a single tie in it so it doesn't fall out. That's going to just help keep it together for the students who want to put it against their helmet so they can actually pin it to the helmet. You can take this line. This is 080 trimmer line. And you can cut off pieces of it like this and have them ready to go. Kind of the same way we did for these little rubber pieces. You just take these, and I just keep some ready to go. So I can just have that ready. And then now I'm going to put that through here. And then put that through here. The Tygon line, the internal dimension of it, if you get the 080 line, it's going to hold nice and firm. Now you have something that they can take apart, and you can hold it on. It'll hold on to the helmet, and it can be taken off or put back on. And that's it. I do like to blow these off, just dust off the plastic a little bit before I tuck them away. And then when you see that patient next out on the football field, they will have their dual laminate custom fitted athletic mouth guard, just like that. Bingo.